Hi everyone, it's Lisa. I just wanted to give a video or a recording this week of our that's going to focus on discussions. This is the first week that you have a graded discussion due, and I just want to make sure that you understand what is needed this week. So I just wanted to start by pulling up the discussion rubric, which you have in multiple places. So know that your first post is going to be due by Wednesday at 11:59. Okay? Your first post is considered your initial post, like it says, which is considered the answer to the questions that I have posed on a topic. And until you have answered those questions, you cannot view anybody else's posts. So go through, look at the discussion. We'll go through that in a minute. Answer all of the questions, make a discussion post just like you did for the introductory discussion last week, and compose the answers to your questions. And as soon as you do that, you will be able to see everybody else's posts, and then you can respond to your classmates. So just take note, 2 different days of the week. First one has to be done by Wednesday. So in order to get full credit, you'll have to post by Wednesday at 11:59, and you'll also have to post an additional day of the week, a response to your classmates, one at minimum. Welcome to do more than that. Okay? Please read through this. I'm not going to go through every point on here, but if you want to make sure you get an A, or at least an A and a B, read through what A-level postings would look like. Every single point here has to be met in order to receive an A. So, a B, etc., etc. A C, as I've pointed out, the highest grade you can get if you only post on one day and have one post and you're late is going to be a 79. So even if you have an amazing post, you've answered all the questions, you've responded to your classmates multiple times, if it's past Wednesday, you can only get a C. And I said this in the introduction, and I know it's hard. People are working and you have other classes, to post Wednesday by midnight. If I don't require this, a lot of people would just log on over the weekend and start posting their posts, and that way there is no way we can get a back and forth with students. I've taken an online class before. I know it's hard to get that initial post done by Wednesday at midnight, but it's really necessary for the class to work as far as discussions go. Okay, I'm just going to minimize that. I want to go to the discussion this week. This is my screen, it's not your screen, but you guys are going to be split into 2 groups this week. It's just going to be too many postings if you're all in one group. So as you can see, just some of the main points here. This week we're talking about food guides, and I want you to look at my plate, okay? It says read through it carefully. Click on all the sections. We'll go to the website in a second. Look at my plate, and you're going to, for this, compare my plate to either the Mediterranean Pyramid or Harvard School of Public Health's Healthy Eating Plate. One or the other. So compare my plate to one of these, whichever you choose, it doesn't matter, but don't do both. It's too much, it'll get too confusing, okay? In your post, when you are answering questions on your initial post, please number them. The answer to number 1 is this, the answer to number 2 is this, etc., etc. Otherwise, it will be very hard for me to decipher where you're answering what question. So please do that, okay? So here we go, clicking my plate website. These are the different groups. If you want to actually get a visual of what the plate looks like, you can click here on top, my plate. And here you have a picture of what the plate looks like. Well, it just went back, but we can... Okay, this is what my plate looks like. Let's go back, and if you want to, the most important thing really, the visual picture is important, but here are all the groups. So we've got fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, dairy, and then here you also have empty calories. Which is going to be sugar and solid fat. So you want to look through all of these groups, see what's in them, get acquainted with this website, and then pick which of these 2 you want to compare it to. So you've got the Mediterranean Pyramid. It's a pyramid, it's not a plate, but essentially, it's the same thing. It's a food guide. I would click here on my Mediterranean Diet Pyramid, click on it. The information is not nearly as comprehensive as my plate, but you can click on it. I would definitely recommend getting a visual, seeing this is obviously what they recommend in abundance. This is what they recommend in moderation. If so you can look at that to answer the questions. Look at the text, go all the way down. What do they recommend? They have some information here, all the food, on all different types of foods within the pyramid. So just click through this. The information is all there. You just have to be a little savvy and look through it. These are really big websites. So you can use the Mediterranean. If you don't want to use that Harvard Healthy Eating Plate, this looks very similar to my plate. And I'd like you to read through. Harvard came up with their own plate to counter my plate, my plate is the government's website, is the government's guide, USDA. This is Harvard. And I'd like you to read a little bit about why they think that this guide is better than my plate. I'll give you a little clue in there. They really say that Harvard's information and their recommendation is strictly based on research rather than USDA, which they believe does have some influence by the Dairy Association and the Meat Association and the Sugar Association, etc., etc. So you can look here. You can look what they say for fruits and vegetables, grains, protein, plant oils, all of this stuff, but there is a lot more information here. So you choose, describe at least 3 similarities, 3 differences from the 2 guides that you pick. Describe types of the foods that are recommended in each group. So let's just say you pick Harvard, and let's say you pick grains. Go through and see what are they recommending in their grain group compared to, let's say, the grain group in my plate. Try to narrow it down. What is Harvard recommending maybe for healthy protein as compared to protein in my plate? Or where do you see a lot of protein in the Mediterranean pyramid, excuse me. Are the foods broken down the same way? So, for instance, if you're choosing the Mediterranean, you can see their foods are not broken down the same way as my plate. They are very distinct in terms of fruit, vegetables, grains, etc., whereas the Mediterranean, you can see they're grouping the foods differently. So you can speak about that. You can look at Harvard as well. If you want to look at Harvard and compare it to my plate, look at dairy. Where does Harvard have dairy? It's not obvious where it is, but the dairy foods are in there somewhere. So look at that. And then, are the foundations the same? So when I say foundations, what I mean is what does my plate recommend the most of? What should fill most of your plate? Is that different from the guide that you have chosen? How is it different? Are the tips of the pyramids, when I say pyramids, I mean plates, or pyramid if you're using Mediterranean, are the tips meaning what they're recommending the least of. So that's going to be obvious in the pyramid, what are they recommending the least of? But in Harvard, they're going to say what they're going to tell you to limit. And the same for my plate. They're also going to tell you what foods to limit. That would be if it was a pyramid on the tip of the pyramid. And then how might you use, which one would you use one over the other and why if you're using this to educate a patient? How might you use each of these, okay? You need to have thoughtful answers. You need to have examples. In every single question, I want examples to show me that you've really gone through and you've put some time and effort into this and you really understand it. Your responses to your classmates, you might look at what they have done. Maybe they pointed out something that you didn't even realize. Maybe they have an opinion on how they would use it and you want to enlighten them how you would use something else. So there is opportunity for back and forth here. I think that's it for this week. You have until Sunday night to finish up, and that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions during the week. Take care and have a great week.